your patience. We're meeting at the GC TV studio instead of the Municipal Center. So we had a few bugs we had to get out of the system. So I'm calling the meeting to order at 7:13. And we're gonna take items out of order, but I think to start the meeting, I do need a roll call. And I'll welcome Jan Berry so that she's official. Welcome, Jan. We'll welcome you better in a moment after we get this other business out of the way.
Thank you. I'm so sorry I had to do on Zoom.
That's okay.
Family matters, unexpected came up this week and threw a wrench into my week.
No problem. We're glad you could still make it.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Sure. Okay. So I'm gonna do roll call. Jan Berry.
Yes.
Paul.
Aye.
Jack.
Here.
Ken.
Here.
Kristen.
Here.
And Justin Wood.
Here.
And Sandy, I think that's Colleen's at another meeting right now. So am I missing anybody that might be on a video? Nope. Okay, we'll start the meeting and we'll start with Adam and the Ferry Street Playground application.
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
We can.
Great, awesome. So thank you for your flexibility today moving me up on the agenda. I appreciate it. So for those I haven't met in the room, my name is Adam LaPointe. I'm the Recreation Director. I've been in my position for a little over a year now. And in the short time that I've been here, we made a lot of strides programmatically, but also strategically, if that makes sense. One of the biggest things in working with the Recreation Commission was creating a 5-year capital expenditure plan, but also a 5-year program plan. And part of the 5-year capital plan is the replacement of a large portion of our playgrounds to make them as ADA accessible as possible. On top of that, making sure that each borough of Grafton, so to speak, has one of those accessible playground projects. When I started, Norcross was kind of in the middle of the marathon, so to speak, and got completed a couple of months ago through support of CPC. So we're looking to kind of continue that upward mobility and work on Ferry Street. A little background about Ferry Street. It was built, I don't know the exact dates because I've heard a lot from a lot of locals, but it's very old. Typically playgrounds, especially with playground mulch, the usable life is typically 15 to 20 years, and I've heard people say that the Ferry Street Playground's been around for way longer than that. The number I saw was 2001, but I think it's more than that. So the Ferry Street Playground project is the next one kind of in order for us to renovate. So we're asking CPC for $292,000 to support that project. We're asking also for a $100,000 capital expenditure ask through town meeting. So it'll be a kind of a combo, if we get the capital funding plus the CPC funding, we'll be able to move forward with the project pretty quickly. We have quotes, of course, and we also have renderings ready to go, which are in the application itself. The entire surface of the property will be that poured-in-place rubber. For those that are familiar with the Norcross new playground, it's the green part of the property. We're doing the full entire surface of that poured-in-place rubber. It is the most accessible for wheelchairs and those that have mobility issues, and it's also the best for critical fall heights. So basically each surface material has a critical fall height, basically what's considered safe height to fall from in order to be, somebody to come out, safe. I can go into more stuff through the application. This is my first time asking a CPC ask, so I'm happy to answer any particular question you have about the project. A lot of the stuff, like I said, aligns with the Rec Commission's 5-year capital plan, but also with the ADA transition plan, and also just a lot of the open space and rec plans as well. So happy to answer any questions.
So have you gone through the capital improvement budgeting process to be you've already done that, so you're included, or that's what you're going to do at the same time that you're up doing this application with CPC?
The $100,000 is currently in the fiscal 26 budget, but it depends on approval at town meeting.
So you've passed that hurdle, so you just need town meeting.
Sorry, there was some feedback. I didn't hear that. Sorry.
So you've passed. You've passed.
Someone has their microphone
I was muted.
Sorry.
I'm muted again, sorry.
So you've already gone through the capital improvement, so you've passed, you're included on that budget, so all you need is approval at town meeting for the
Correct. Yeah,
100,000.
so it's in the budget for this year, pending any changes to the budget, but it is in the capital plan for this upcoming fiscal year.
Okay. Anyone else have questions?
Adam, the rubber surface, did you say that has a expected lifetime use of like 15 years?
Typically between 20 and 30, it just depends on
20.
usage. And it's kind of, it's better than what would be like the playground mulch that we have out there. Typically with playground mulch, you get a good 10 to 15 years of life out of it, and then either you need to completely gut it and replace it, or just kind of put mulch on top of it, which really isn't the best way to do it. So we thought if we're gonna replace the surface, might as well replace the whole playground at the same time.
One thing that I noticed at, I think Norcross, that was part of the problem, is that there was a tree that fell and destroyed some things, but they didn't put trees back, and it's nice to have shade. I don't know, are trees gonna be part of this so that there is some natural shading, for the
That
playground area?
That property, the playground area, has a couple of trees lined up on the street past the fence itself, so it's already kind of shaded. There are some trees also on, I think it's considered the north side of the property as well. There'll also be a shade structure that's going to be installed. There's already one there, but it's going to be replaced with a bigger shade structure. So there'll be some natural and some physical shade structures that will keep it cool. I know that's one of the complaints about Norcross is that tree really kind of limited the amount of shade there is on the property. So we don't plan on cutting trees or adding any, but there's plenty of shade currently.
Thanks.
Adam, what are the age ranges for this particular playground?
Yep, so this playground will be in lockstep with Norcross. We'll start at 6 months old. There'll be fixtures for 6 months old, all the way up to, they say 12, but 99, any adult can use them. But we'll start at 6 months and go all the way up to 12 years old.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, we will ask you to be available for the next meeting in March, in case they're in between now and then, that people have questions or need more information, or if you have more information. But it doesn't sound like there's a need for additional information, so if that's the case, we'll notify you beforehand to say it's not necessary, that unless you choose to attend.
Okay, great.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thanks, you
Okay.
too.
So we'll go to the Congregational Church, Andy DeShane and Don Blanchard representing that application.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I have a narrative from Rob Lane, who couldn't be with us tonight, just to sort of walk you back through where we are right now and where we've been. So briefly, before the work really got started, we asked the contractor that we had hired for a more firm quote on the carpentry piece of this, and it came in well over what we had budgeted, more than what they had said, and it didn't include the steeple. So we put the brakes on the project. We didn't want to get into this thing unfunded or partially funded. We're trying to be conservative about what we do so we can be successful the first time we go through it. We paid for a very expensive lift, a high reach lift, to get to the steeple to get a closer look. They came back with an estimate of $15,000. We don't really believe that estimate. So right now we have a current budget that has there $64,000 for total carpentry, plus $10,000 for further deterioration between when we looked at it last year and when we're hoping to do the work this coming year, and then a contingency of $45,000 for a total of $109,000. We're just trying to be careful that we've got enough cushion, we've got enough contingency. We're also seeing that you know, if they're gonna use a lift, it's a more expensive lift because it's high reach. We may have to go to scaffolding instead, which is what we did last time, 20 some odd years ago. And that's a more significant cost than we had originally had in the budget. So we're just trying to capture everything we can and have enough contingency. You know, there's nothing we'd like more than to not spend it all. But we're just trying to be careful. We don't want to come up short. So we raised about $50,000 under the original campaign. We've asked for $25,000 more in pledges, and we're a little under halfway through that, but we're still working on it. So the gap in the budget is $95,000, of which we are asking for $70,000 from CPC, and we're covering the rest as we did the first time through. That was a gallop through our brief history here.
Andy, one of the things I saw in your application was that this is all restoration work that's to be done on the steeple?
Yeah, the steeple, as you know, it is all kind of custom stuff. It's not off the shelf stuff. It's really very specific to the architecture and to the church and to the time. So it felt more like restoration to us than it did. You know, some of the trim that we're going to be replacing lower down in the church that's run-of-the-mill kind of stuff. This is really specialized restoration that we felt for the steeple itself. There's a lot of trim up there it's not off the shelf stuff.
My only thought is, since we can only really cover restoration work, you're raising $25,000 for this piece of it, when we could actually fund all of this. And I'm thinking it makes more sense to look at the overall project cost, and maybe that $25,000 you put towards the base. Our funds have to be used last anyways.
Yes.
I'm just thinking that might help.
Yeah, that aligns with kind of what I was thinking. I don't know if this is a way to do it, but my thought was maybe we have the article we bring to town meeting an adjustment of the original grant. So we have town approve a larger amount total. It's still going to be the same, you know, basically 100,000 roughly that you're asking for, but
Right.
it'll just adjust what we initially granted as a town, and that way there gives you a little bit more flexibility, and you're going to use your donations toward your overall project, and our funds get used last, etc. That was my initial thought.
Sure. I mean, we're more than happy to work with you to parse this in whatever way you think is the best way to go.
I don't know what others think. It gets confusing when you got two separate applications like that, but I mean, it just makes sense to me to look at the overall project. It just complicates things.
And it also makes it a little clearer to the town too, to me, that, well, we're doing $100,000 now, we already did this much. No, we're needing more than we thought to do this project.
Right.
And, you know, this is a new amount, this was the old amount, so we're only asking for a really slight increase, you know, relatively.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it probably is easier to explain that way too.
I think you're right.
It makes sense to me. I mean, it's the same. It really is basically the same project. It's just you know, the costs have gone up. So I agree with you. I think it probably makes sense to amend it rather than to try to make this feel like two things. It's not really two. It's one.
We still have adequate time to do that
In terms of the application,
before we have to get it for.
because we have a month,
We have the whole month.
But,
Okay. That's what
and then, you know, probably a week or so after that to meet the deadline for the warrant. Go ahead.
Question, how would you write the warrant if you're going to do it as as you're proposing?
I have guesses on how that would work, but I think we would need to ask, you know, the TA's office for advice on how that, number one, is that possible? Do we think it's possible? Number two, how would that look? And
Yes, my question is, how would that look?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know
Because
exactly.
I don't think that the committee's ever done that before.
Has the scope of the project, the original proposed project changed, or is
No.
it just a
No,
cost? Okay,
it's the
so
same. It's just that the cost is more.
unexpected.
Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
when we had this problem before with the Stone Arch Bridge in North Crafton, all we did is just say, at the town meeting, we need X $100,000 because this was an unanticipated cost. And they didn't, it was just an additional sum for the same project.
Right, and so we've done that. We have added money to cover overruns
That's,
before.
that's roughly what I'm saying, like,
Yeah.
like adding money to the project as it already existed. You know,
Maybe then that's strictly a wording thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the finance part of it is that that we want, $70,000 from this account for this.
Yeah, cause I remember, I know this isn't CPC, but when the new DPW structure needed to come back for more because there was too much ledge, they came back and just said, it's the same exact thing, we just need more funds because of unanticipated costs.
It's just complicated the way it's worded, cause they're not asking for the full amount of the cost, which is all restoration work that we can fund. And the other part of it was not all restoration work, and we can't fund all of it. It just seems like we could help more than.
I agree, like, both avenues are a little tricky, but I think when one avenue is like, what can we and what can't we spend money on, and one avenue is like, how do we word it?
Yeah.
I think it's right, I think we gotta just try and focus on the wording, but I think making it one overall project is probably the go.
yeah.
So, in last year's annual town meeting, this committee, recommended a grant of $120,000 for restoration and this project. And so why can't we just now say, we're gonna do the same thing for $70,000
An additional,
and,
Funds.
and it is in addition to what we did before because it costs more.
Mhm.
Why don't we just say that? Seems like it's simpler.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm a little bit indifferent on the exact wording and how we approach it in the warrant article. My main point was we should just tie it to the same project and make it,
I can
So
go back
you're
and find
speaking about the explanation of it.
I can find the warrant article for the Stone Arch Bridge, because that will certainly give us some language that we can use, but a lot of it is additional funds for the Congregational Church Restoration Project. You're saying additional, so it's not a new project, it's not a different project. And then as part of the explanation, and that's something that we'll have to do, and that's something, Andy, you'll get to join us at Finance Committee, because they're the ones that are gonna ask a lot of questions.
Sure, yep, that's fine.
So, and just to make sure that they understand, and then in their explanation, when I'm sure they will approve, they'll explain, this is because there were increased costs, and, they didn't, or whatever about the steeple, that you didn't have the adequate, information to get a good price, a good bid. So,
Right.
that's why this is different, this is why you're coming back, so. I think
Exactly, yep.
that they're the ones that kind of explain it, and that's the language that people get at town meeting, so they can see why.
Right.
So. Okay, anybody else have
There was an invoice that was on or in the packet too,
yeah, that was,
from
I
last
believe-
year.
Andy, was that the invoice that we saw, that's what you, my read of it was that was what you used for the thing to go up and look at the steeple, is that accurate?
I'm not sure. Donna, do you know what was included there?
This is replace 450 feet of trim on the right side of the church, replace trim on the back side of the church, etc.
We're talking about cardboard too. I was like,
Yeah, amount
Cardboard.
36,000, total 36,000, deposit 25,000. Before we start doing the job, I need a deposit, etc. Replace 7 square of cardboard on the right side of the church.
Cardboard.
Cardboard, not cardboard, actually.
Oh.
I just realized that
I
mistake.
thought it said cardboard.
I don't think that's an approved material.
But yeah, I see that bill here.
That's the first time I saw it.
Um,
I don't recall ever seeing that invoice before, so I don't know when
Yeah,
it was submitted.
I'll have to talk to Rob to find out exactly what that was. It may have been the deposit that we had to give the construction company, I think that's what that was, but let me confirm with Rob.
Yeah, because I remember they they showed up on site and wanted to be immediately paid, and obviously we can't do
Right.
that.
That was the painting people, I thought,
Right, yes,
Rhino Shield.
right,
Is that what you're,
It's the invoice that's in our packet.
It's to an ANN, or AN Carpentry and Painting Incorporated in Peabody.
it's dated 9/4/24.
Yeah, it's from last year.
This
last
must be
September.
an estimate. This must have been just when you guys were getting bids.
Yeah, 'cause
let me
that-
find out. I don't want, I can find out easily enough and just follow up with you all.
This is not a paid invoice. I think this is an estimate. I mean,
Yeah, I just couldn't tell. It was in there.
because it
as
says
a-
before you
it's
start
listed
doing
as
this
an
job, I need a deposit of $25,000. And none of the work has been done, so I'm sure you guys have not written any checks,
Right.
for anything. So I think
Just
this,
for the lift, just the lift.
Yeah.
We paid for that.
but I
yeah.
think this is just an estimate to replace the described wood. I think this is one, because typically, like, people will include estimates in the application, so.
Sounds like that.
Right, that
It
sounds
sounds
like,
like the figure, and it sounds like that was what you're talking about,
But it's
isn't it?
just one probably of many estimates that you had. And
Right.
how this one got included and not the others is kind of the mystery, but, that's how you came up with the project cost.
correct, yep.
And hearing this wasn't paid, that satisfies my need for today.
That's no, it wasn't cardboard.
Very expensive cardboard. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so we'll need to, talk about how do we wanna continue with the way this is, it sounds like? That they don't need to change the application?
Yeah, as long as we can come up with wording.
So it's more on our part to get the warrant language to be straightforward and not confusing.
Yeah. And if the TA's office says that we can't do it for some reason, then we can go back to this.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, let us know if there's anything that we can provide or anything that we need to do.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you,
Thank you
Donna.
very much.
Good night. Thanks,
Have a good
Andy.
night.
Okay, so I think we're back to the agenda and we'll welcome Jan Berry more formally, not so rushed. Welcome, Jan. Do you have any comments, to the committee to introduce yourself to us? I already know
Hi.
you, but others might not.
Well, I'm trying to get on video, but, you guys don't need to see me. Yeah.
I know what you look
So,
like.
I am very excited to be part of the committee, and I think, John, you know that I feel really strongly about the town of Grafton. We've worked together in the past, so that's a cool thing. I mean, you guys can ask me questions, like, and I can tell you a little bit more about myself or what you're thinking.
Well, this is putting you in a really hard spot, especially since you're not here. I
know,
didn't
I'm
really
so
meant to
sorry.
make it sound like a third degree. I apologize. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself better than I did. Maybe, how long have you lived in Grafton?
Okay, so I've been in Grafton about 32 years. I spent 10 years on the Board of Library Trustees, 5 years on the Historic District Commission, raised 2 girls in Grafton, and did a lot of volunteer stuff at St. Philip's when it was a church. I love Grafton. I'm very interested right now in the open spaces, kind of what some of the changes are going on in Grafton, and I really thought this would be a good committee for me to volunteer on. And then Anne-Marie actually said, can you get on the Community Preservation Committee? Sure. I'm gonna be retired. I teach at Touchstone Community School. I'm a tutor. I mean, I don't know what you guys want to know about me, but you can ask me anything you want.
No, that's telling everybody a whole lot, which, I mean, I knew you were on the library and historic district and very involved in the town, and I think that's good because that's, you've had an opportunity to see a lot of the various things that we do, with CPC, and
Yes.
you'll bring a nice, different perspective to the committee, and so we look forward to seeing you in person, hopefully, next month, if everything
No, you
works
will
out.
see me in person for sure. I hate Zoom so
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
I can't even tell you how much I hate it. Like, I can't even get myself on the video now. Like, I don't know. But I prefer to be in person and, you know, deal with people one-on-one, like in person, because I
Right.
think that's the best. During the lockdown, when I was teaching, it was horrible. So I'd rather be with you guys at that table right now. Not that I know where you are, but yeah,
Normally we
I
meet
definitely will
in
be in
conference room
person
A.
from now on.
Normally we meet downstairs in conference room A, and they're
Okay.
they're renovating F, and I don't know how long that's gonna take, and sometimes we get bumped, so we're either in A or upstairs in F. So this is a first to be at the old police station.
Okay. And thank you to Beth, who helped me out. Thank you so much. If you're still on, that was really helpful, so.
You're welcome.
The other thing is, I didn't want to say a lot about what I've been hearing, but I will listen today and think about a few things, and we can talk about it next time we meet.
Great. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for agreeing to serve. So we will move on to the treasurer's report, and everyone should have a copy.
Okay, I need to share a screen. Here, there it is. Okay, I'd like to start with just a brief mention of the fiscal year we're in, 2025. The committee has actually done all the work it's going to do for fiscal year 2025, and we're on to 2026. But just to wrap, a couple of small points from 2025. So, you all know, well, most of you know that the committee works with revenue estimates made before the year begins, and we make them according to a formula that the Department of Revenue suggests. So we make estimates on revenue, and at the end of when the fiscal year ends and the actual amounts are known, the estimates get adjusted. And for the treasurer's report, there's lines in yellow that you can see in front of you there. I wonder if I can make that bigger. Maybe, I don't know, maybe not. There's actually 6 values that get updated, and they're in orange on the center right there. The amount of surcharge that is actually raised gets put in that orange cell. The total state match gets put in. The actual amount of interest gets put in, and the project closeouts and the actual amount spent from the administrative reserve. And those just update the end of the year, and it's always more than we estimated. In fact, over the past few years, it's been substantially more when we do close out. It's ranged from $80,000 to $200,000 of more revenue than we estimate. So that's good news. So you can always take a look at these numbers and say it's probably going to be more than that. The average was 120,000 over the past 8 or 10 years, for instance. And the amount that's extra can be used by the committee for 2026 because we can use them for the October meeting, because the numbers become known in the July and August timeframe. So by the time October comes along, we can use that overage money. So that's what I wanted to say
Ken,
about
one quick question.
2025, yes.
On the project closeouts, we closed out the, common improvements project by
Ye-
June 30th, but I don't see it.
That all happened in fiscal 2024. Yes, they did close out, because 2024 is behind us, that did close, and
Okay.
and it was recorded in the numbers that flowed into 2025.
Okay,
And so, 2025 you see here right now is actually, in progress. It won't close until this coming June.
okay,
So any further projects that close will go into that cell.
okay, got it.
Okay, so switching to the year where is coming up for us, we always work a year ahead. So this is 2026. Every year we estimate the revenue and the surcharge based on, I don't know, conventions, and we do it the same way every year. And Mary Loria, the town accountant, and I did sit down and we made those estimates. And so we came out with the revenue on the first line, the surcharge, not knowing anything else, we usually use the percentage from the year before, which was 18%. So we put in 18%, and out of that flows the total revenue, the reserve amounts, the 3 reserve amounts, and the remainder of that. And so the lines that are a couple of the numbers that are that are colored green go into that first article for the CPC at the Springtown meeting. So we just came up with this stuff last week, and then it was only this afternoon that we got an email from the Community Preservation Coalition saying that the Department of Revenue has said, you should use 15% for your revenue estimate this year. 3% lower than Mary and I did the week before. So that didn't make it into this report. So 15%, that's a drop of $14,500 from our revenue line. And so the affordable housing, the 3 reserves will go down by 1/10 of that, about $1,500, and the budgeted reserve number will be dropped by that amount. But that's, like I say, that's not a big deal, $15,000, because it could be $150,000 under reality anyway, and so it's really not material. And so just moving down, in the blue tinted lines are what's coming up for the next town meeting, the one in front of us. And so you can see, in addition to those what we call the budget numbers on the top, I put in for the purpose, I put in for reference the amount of money that has been requested for grants in this coming cycle. And I put in the amounts that we knew up to about a week ago. So that was a little bit less for the Ferry Street Park and $70,000 for the Congregational Church. So if we take them out of the budgeted reserve account, we'll still have plenty left over. Moving down to the non-reserve funds, those are that's the.
Before you do
fund.
that,
Go ahead.
let's see, line 11, the article for the Ferry Street Park,
That's correct.
the actual number is 292, 375, 37.
Yes, I understand.
So I just wanna make sure.
And so if we make the adjustments that we know about to this the revenue block, we dropped the state match by 14,500,
Mhm.
and we're increasing the Ferry Street Park number by 3,400. So what that does is that the 226,750 that we see right here is going to be reduced by $6,800 and 6806.
13,000 or 12.
Well, I netted out I netted
other.
out the
Okay, gotcha.
increased
At the top.
yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, again, those numbers will be reflected in the next month.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure.
And
Since
in
we have
general,
the application,
they're,
so we
they're
do have
not,
a hard
they're
number.
not making material changes from what we have here from a week ago. So, moving down to the, you know, we're not suggesting, at this point, we're not suggesting any grants for the non-reserve funds or the, what we call the undesignated fund balance. It's just sitting, it's waiting until we think of something new. The two bond payments are taken out of their corresponding reserve. That's here. The two bond payments. Number 17 out of 20 for Pell Farm. We're getting close to the end of that, and we're and just started the second half of the second half of 20 payments for the One Grafton Common. And the third line under these reserves is the Affordable Housing Trust Reserve, which we're guessing that the Affordable Housing Trust is going to apply for a transfer of that for that grant.
Right.
We're anticipating a
We will be.
a grant request for
Yes.
that. And so that's that. And this year it is just the amount that's going to come in. And just to repeat, that number 85,679, that's not going to be quite it, because that comes down from the reserves, further from the revenue, which just was changed. So it'll be about that. It'll be a little less, $1,500 less. So just looking at the summaries down here, we carried over $477,000 from fiscal 2025, or we're projecting that we will, but we're guessing that it could be between $80,000 and $150,000 more than that when the year closes. And new revenue estimates for this year left us with 13.3. We have bond payments, grants, and expenses that we know of so far is $589,000, and that leaves us for any other grants this spring or any grants in October. We'll have $744,000 available for any grants.
Can I just ask a quick question about the Affordable Housing Trust grant? Do you want me to use that number in the grant request, or should I keep it more loose, like 10%?
Yeah, leave it blank.
Oh, I love that, blank check.
Leave it blank. We'll know. Yeah, we'll know. Actually, Mary and I just need to get together, and then we'll have the new number.
But when other people apply for grant requests, that number is pretty critical.
No, for other people who apply for grant requests, it doesn't matter.
No, yes, it
does.
does. We need to know that the Congregational Church is asking 70. I would say still put it in, and then it's subject to change, because it's gonna be a function of however Mary, you guys figure out what that 10% is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So a percentage is more accurate and reflects what we're actually doing versus a dollar amount. And I could still fill the form out using a percentage. Would that be amenable to the committee to do it that way? Does that make sense?
I can tell you what the number's going to be.
Yeah, sure. No, that's whatever's gonna work. I'm good with
don't know
that.
if you-
But if it's wrong, if it changes a little bit, it's subject to that grant agreement.
Here's my
So it leaves us no flexibility.
here's my suggestion. Fill it out with his number right here, put like in parentheses 10%, whatever.
Mhm.
And then at our next meeting, we might have that number.
Well, absolutely.
And then we can just change it, because we can other applications we've changed that number at our
Great.
next
But
meeting.
I mean, I'm not sure how the
Yes,
language, but
yes,
to
let's
say
do that.
that we're requesting 10% of available CPA funds, which we estimate to be
Yeah.
X dollars, so we know that's an estimate.
You don't need
So-
it to be that complicated.
No, but it's like, you don't wanna make it raw, but we can change it, we can change it at the meeting.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I would rather have a number than just a blank.
Right.
Use
Is
it-
this why historically they haven't filled these out, because it is complicated?
No.
They just
I
didn't.
think we're making it complicated.
But-
Yes, just use the number that's here.
Alright, so the
And we'll change it at the
85,000,
meeting.
great, okay, done.
Because that's what the next meeting is for, is to fix everything. Our last chance to fix everything,
Okay.
if there are tweaks that we need to make.
And as soon as Mary and I put the number together, I'll let you know what it is.
Okay, any other questions, comments, of Ken, or the treasurer's report?
I move that we approve the treasurer's report.
A motion and a second, a motion by Justin and a second by Paul. And this is, by roll call. Jan? Oh, she off?
No, I'm not.
Oh, so we're looking for an aye, we're looking for an aye.
Yes.
So Jan,
I'm good. Yes.
Paul,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
and welcome Colleen, sorry,
Aye.
we didn't acknowledge you.
No, that's okay, it's not good.
Colleen and John, I declare the motion to, sorry,
Declare the motion carried?
yes, but I didn't say after the
All in
motion
favor.
and the second, any discussion? Guess not, so. Declare the motion carried unanimously. Minutes, there are quite a few, trying to get those pushed out.
For
Some old,
purposes of
some new.
expediency and discussion, I'll move that we approve the minutes for April 25th, 2024, October 21st, 2024, November 7th, 2024, November 21st, 2024, December 5th, 2024, and January 24th, 2025, to be amended as discussed, if any amendments during discussion.
Second.
Discussion?
Okay, we have a motion by Justin, and I'll let Jack, since Paul got the last one.
And a thank you to Beth.
A motion and a second, any discussion?
Yes. I believe that the date listed on that sheet you read from for the April one is incorrect.
I grab them
It's,
from my phone.
it's off by
put it on
1
my
year.
phone.
It's it's April 2024, but on the list that you read,
I thought I read 2024.
It's in the packet as 2024.
Mm-hmm. I heard
if you were
Yep.
reading, oh.
I read that.
Oh, okay, I guess it's been fixed. Okay, good. No,
So,
no
we're good.
further discussion.
We're good.
I
Okay.
think I would have caught if it was 2025 because we're not there yet.
We try to catch those before you get it. We try to catch
It was
those
earlier in the
minutes.
day.
Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor, by roll call, Jan,
Well, am I allowed to?
I think so.
Procedurally, yes.
You are allowed to vote on minutes. You also may choose to abstain if you do not feel comfortable doing that vote.
Well, I haven't read the ones from October, so I don't know what you got. I'll abstain just because I'm sure they're fine. Actually, yes.
Okay, so, Paul,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Colleen.
Aye.
Declare the motion carried unanimously with no abstentions. Okay, the fun part. So, we have a draft agreement between the Affordable Housing Trust and the Community Preservation Committee, and Colleen has worked diligently to try to tweak the language, and Ken has some modifications, edits he'd like to make. So I'm gonna open the floor for you two, if other people wanna jump right in, but.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can just hand it over to Ken and let him talk about his, points he'd like. So if I'm looking at the packet right now, which one should I be opening for this discussion?
You should open the
Well,
very
you should
first
have,
one.
you should have a packet.
Okay, this
with
one.
hard copy.
Alright, great.
We made a hard copy to make.
Love
So
that.
it should-
I love
A
that.
little bit easier.
Whoever thought I had.
Okay, we're gonna look at this one.
Before I start, I would like to ask if anybody else had a chance to look at it and have any comments on it, that maybe we could address them first.
From what I understand, you were the only one that submitted,
Yeah, I-
suggestions.
I looked at it. I didn't have anything beyond what you've already started on, Ken. So I'll.
Okay, so then let's try to walk through what the comments are. So the first document is 4 pages. It was the one submitted by the Affordable Housing Trust to this committee. And everybody got it, back in January. And when I looked at it, I identified really 3 issues that needed to be addressed. And on the second single page that you see here, I just summarized what they were. And the points are that the agreement that we're making, should be set up so that we make one agreement. It works for all of the 10% grants that we make. It works for all grants that we make that don't have a designated purpose. An example of that would be the emergency rental assistance program that we did before was a grant separate than the 10% reserves, and it was for a purpose. So any grant we make that doesn't have a designated purpose should be covered by this, so that we don't have to have an agreement for everyone.
So that was discussed extensively at the Affordable Housing Trust, and we covered that last meeting too, that is the goal of the Affordable Housing Trust as well.
Okay, so if you look at the whereases in this first agreement, the third one uses language, the town meeting voted under an article on this date to spend a certain amount of money for community housing purposes.
Yeah, we struck that, so I
But
guess
you didn't strike it because this is the document they sent us.
I
Okay,
understand.
but if she's
They
saying
sent
it's,
us, this is what they sent us.
if she said it's struck, it's struck.
Okay, it's,
been
well,
stricken.
okay, I'll
It's
interpret
gone.
that to say,
It will be
if she's,
struck.
if the intended to be struck, then there's no
We
discussion.
all are in agreement
Okay.
that is not what we want.
Okay, but that's what it says,
Okay,
and
but
so
it's
we
gone.
need to change it.
It-
It's
it just
not
doesn't-
gone, it's here.
It's
I'm pretty sure
gone.
It's gone when we,
I just drew a line through it,
So
it's
okay.
gone.
okay, good.
Right here.
Okay, so, the second point, oh, and so that shows up in the paragraph number 1 as well. That says in 30 days you're going to give it to us. And that's not the way the funds work.
So then that needs to be, is
So that needs to
okay?
be changed.
Okay, so that's going to line
Okay.
2.
And then the second thing was that we have discovered, Colleen, and we all have discovered that the CPC funds are specified under the agreement that they're supposed to be separate. And this is a good place to put that, to reiterate
Where,
that statement.
right, where are you?
I would suggest we put it in the bottom of paragraph 1, and I'll show you that in a minute.
Yes.
The bottom of paragraph 1. And then the third thing is that we all know that affordable housing trust projects that use from CPC grants that are used to purchase essentially real property, in which the CPC says is support rehabilitation or construction of community housing. And the thing is that the law says it shall obtain an affordable housing restriction. Now, to explain that, when the CPC funds are used to buy open space, the law says that we have to have a conservation restriction on that property. When the CPC gives money for historical restoration, the building or whatever it is that's restored has to have a historical historical restriction. Historical preservation restriction. And the same way, money used from CPC grants, even if it's spent via the Affordable Housing Trust for essentially real property, are required to have a affordable housing restriction that is directly analogous to the other two. The agreement that they've sent us is squishy on that. It makes it kind of, it's in one case where it needs to be mentioned, it's omitted. And in one case, it's a second case where it's mentioned, it gives the impression that it's optional.
Can you show me the optional spot if you're?
The optional spot is
Paragraph 11, or number 11 on
paragraph
page
11. In the event the trust decides to seek a restriction.
Okay, so
And it needs to be,
can we operate off the one with the blue font? Because that one says is required.
okay, So let me explain, okay, I just explained what they gave us, what we think needs to be changed. And now the one with the blue,
Yeah.
the agreement with the blue is, it starts with what they gave us. And any additions to what anything the committee proposes to change are in blue and underlined.
Okay.
Anything that the committee proposes gets struck are black but have a strike-through bar on them.
Okay, great.
And so if you look at the whereas in the middle of page 1,
Yep.
this is where we said that we've got to change the wording of this so that it contemplates an ongoing agreement for all of the periodic grants.
Yep.
So I needed to say something, so I proposed the legal-like language that we say is whereas from time to time the CPC shall consider and may approve grant applications from the trust or others for funds not designated for a specific affordable housing purpose, those funds to be transferred to the trust. Such approved grants are submitted to the town when we approve them, the grants are submitted to the town administrator as articles for the warrant for the next town meeting. Upon approval by the town meeting, such funds shall be, then I tried to work it into their language, shall be set aside to be transferred to the trust, usually at the beginning of the fiscal year, not at some other time. And so, moving on down to paragraph 1.
And one question, should you say that, that last piece,
Excuse me?
about the timing of it, I don't see
The
it.
timing of it is covered in paragraph 1, which is on the top of the next page.
Okay.
Now, going back to the language that was submitted to us, I suppose we strike the 30 days part and replace it with, at the beginning of the next fiscal year or some other specified time, those housing funds shall be transferred to the trust, period. And they call that AHFT funds, and so we'll use that term going forward. So the AHFT funds are deposited and maintained in a dedicated trust account, kept separate from other funds not subject to Mass General Law 44B restrictions. All interest earned on such AHT funds shall be AHT funds and be deposited and accumulated in the same dedicated trust account. So this is item number 2.
Mhm.
And it just seemed like a good place to put it because we're talking about money moving.
Mhm.
Okay, on item number 3 comes up in paragraph 4. And
Do we need the word next, sorry, in paragraph 1, at the beginning of the next fiscal year? It's just always gonna be the beginning of each fiscal year, do we need to say next?
the thing is that the town meeting is in this fiscal year and is in one fiscal year and the transfer's in the next one.
But
So I
that's
think we
then
do.
the fiscal year, that would automatically mean it's always gonna be in July 1st, correct?
Yes, so when we vote them in May, the actual transfer happens on June
But I
30th.
mean, it can't go backwards, it has to be the beginning of the fiscal year,
Right.
which would have to be.
Right.
I'm just,
Yes, the funds that we vote in May all get
transferred.
available or transferred on,
Okay.
12/01, July 1st.
Okay,
And it is in fact the year after the one being where it's voted. Okay. And so now we're talking about the fact that affordable housing restrictions are not optional. And so on item number 4, it says that it started out saying that in consideration of funds that transferred, they need to do a deed restriction. But that's only part of it. In addition to a deed restriction, they have to do a affordable housing restriction. So I preface it saying, according to the law, in consideration of any funds dispersed by the trust for the purposes of purchase, support, rehabilitation, or construction of community housing, the trust shall obtain an affordable housing restriction approved by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities and the associated deed restriction. And go on to say that they both have to be recorded in the registry of deeds, which they do have to be, but we're saying they have to be. And the trust shall provide copies of the restrictions and the deeds to the CPC promptly after they get recorded. So, what we're doing here is saying that, you know, don't forget the affordable housing restriction, and you gotta do it. So,
two kind of related thoughts to that now I'm thinking about it. Number one, should we put any language on, you know, unless future changes to MGL chapter 44B section 12A conflict with this wording?
yeah,
Along those
yeah,
lines?
that's one more degree of lawyering.
Yeah, I don't know. that was just one thought.
Okay,
and
let's,
then-
can I pop up one more?
Person's
sure.
gonna have to review this anyway,
This
right?
is
She'll catch
legal,
it.
I say this is legal-like language, and this needs to go back to the Affordable Housing Trust's attorney
Yeah.
for her to incorporate, using correct legal language, and then come back to us.
So I propose we let Ken finish going through his,
Almost done.
points. Have anybody give any feedback they have. I will bring this to the trust council, and then I think we need a joint meeting, cause this back and forth is not as conducive as if we all got in a room and everybody could just agree and all have the same document.
Yep.
I think that is where we're at next, is a joint
Okay.
meeting with the Affordable Housing Trust.
One other, at the end of that paragraph 4, because I think we discussed this at the last meeting. Because this was my question, it said the trust shall be permitted to use no more than 10% of the trust funds for salaries, delete all the way then to and other. So delete appraisals, surveys, title examination, and legal fees. Is that not correct?
So I remember we had a discussion about this,
Because
both
that
here
can
and at the Affordable
explode,
Housing
those can be
Trust.
horribly expensive, and then
Correct.
you can't.
Correct. Part of this grant agreement is supposed to be broad enough for the Affordable Housing Trust to operate. These monies are always gonna be going towards affordable housing. We're not having pizza parties, like, that's all we're gonna do. You know, and some of the language, while I agree, but like on one, that the trust, it has to have its funds separated, it has to do that. But that's gonna be on my shoulders to figure out how to do, because the town software just isn't compatible and isn't gonna do that. I've had several meetings about it, and so I need to figure out a way to accommodate that. So my question is, if I'm not able to accommodate this to the letter of the law, are you guys gonna withhold funds?
No.
Right, so like, I mean, that's, if we're coming at this with the point of, we're just crossing a T and dotting an I and making a grant agreement because we're supposed to have one, I think we're gonna be okay, and I don't know, I think at this point, sending, as long as everybody's okay with Ken's suggestions, I'll send this right off to our council, and then I think we should schedule a joint meeting, if everybody's amenable to that.
Well, I think if the council comes back with something, that would be a good time to have, you know, to look at it next time. But I don't think we need to look at this a second time.
No, this goes to council, and council, whatever council brings back is what we will all discuss at the joint meeting, is what I would,
Hopefully it'll be very close.
yeah, I mean, without question.
Okay, go ahead.
So moving on, in section 8, the lawyer started using the acronym AHFT. The lawyers from this point on was writing the acronym backwards and so you'll see that mentioned every time they say AHTF. I've suggested they change it back to what they started out using. And so page 8 talks about the trust agrees to meet from time to time. I think the committee might suggest that we add no less than semi-annually. From time to time could be every 5 years or so. So that's just a suggestion.
What does semi-annually mean? Like
It's
twice
Twice a year,
Twice a year.
but
I've seen semi-annually mean various things. I think it'd be easier to say twice a year, just.
But do we need to meet twice a year? No, I mean, that's,
It's always been once.
Annually seems more than sufficient, and then
Yeah.
again, if there's a need, like this, we
Yep.
call a meeting.
So to me, that was part
How about
of the
Melissa,
thought
annually?
of having
That
an
works. That
application, so that whenever Ann would come in and she'd say, okay, here's the application, we could say, okay, what'd you do last year? She'd say,
Mhm.
and here's a list of what we did, da, 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 da.
Love that.
So that's the opportunity, we don't need to create a whole new,
And in the current
Enterprise.
iteration of CPC, you have a rep, so you're getting a monthly update already, where an
Right.
annual meeting might
Right.
feel a little like, I know, I've been
Well,
talking about it every
well,
month.
no, well, if it's every month, then this is moot, because
it's,
that's,
it's excessive, we don't, that's,
No,
this just says, you know, we don't want to go more than a year.
right, but I'm saying in our current makeup, we get a monthly update because I give it to them.
Right.
But, you know, in
And
3,
so that-
4 years, we don't know what the makeup of this
Right.
committee is, so this allows that we get at least an annual update, and doing it through the grant agreement is a fantastic time to be doing it.
Okay. Okay, it's getting a little bit more technical, but considering that this agreement's gonna last for a long time, the termination clause needed to be patched up a little bit to contemplate that. And so the suggestion is that the committee will terminate, you know, blah, blah, blah. You know, if they spent all the money and no further undesignated fund grants are contemplated. So if they just spend all the money down to zero 1 year because they got a really big project and they're waiting around, you know, we don't want it to terminate before the next year comes on and it gets replenished.
Fair enough.
That's it.
let me ask, on paragraph 10, line 2, all the way to the right, it says AHR.
That's affordable housing restriction.
Okay.
The acronym got defined, so I just said.
Earlier, okay,
to
I
use
just
it.
wanted to make sure.
Okay, and on 11, it goes back and talks about permanent restrictions, and it says that in the event the trust decides, and I'm saying in the events plural, the trust is required, when the trust is required to do it, then to go on with what it originally said, the trust is responsible for obtaining necessary approvals from the Affordable Housing Restriction Bureaucracy, the EOHLC, and et cetera. So it just makes it from optional to when it's required.
Why are we making event plural in that paragraph?
Because they can do it more than one time. They can make a expenditure more than one time, that's why, because there's more than one event. Well, the
Seems
lawyer will
awkward.
decide whether that's good language or not.
It seems awkward.
In fact, in all cases, the lawyer will decide what's the proper language. And that was it. So those are the suggestions that I think need to be made. And then if the lawyer can get that, can understand it, if it's properly explained, I hope that it is, and the lawyer sees that she'll put that in and give us a good draft, and we'll say, yeah, that looks great.
Okay, so I will, first of all, is everybody okay with this version?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, well, that's good.
So
Thank
I
you,
will
Ken.
take this version, which is on the packet, and I will get that sent off right away. And then, I think the trust meets in like a couple weeks. We meet earlier in the month. I don't know how quickly it'll take the attorney to turn that around, but is this something you guys wanna do quickly, or is April fine? Like, where are you in the
next
timeline?
available time.
Next available time, okay.
And so I can give you the Word document so that they can, you know, go live with it.
Oh, all right, yep.
Okay, so we need a motion to, you know, move forward with these, you know, send these suggested amendments back
So
to.
moved.
Second.
So I have a motion
I was
by
gonna s- I was gonna
Paul,
make him
a
a
second
motion.
by Justin to, have Colleen take this most recently revised draft back to
Where's the
her
recycle?
council, have them review it, and then we will work on scheduling a time, for the Affordable Housing Trust and CPC
Yep.
to meet together in a joint meeting. Okay, by roll call, Jan,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Jack,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
Kristen,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
Colleen.
Aye.
Declare the motion, carried unanimously. Project updates. Paul, same for the town records.
I reached out to Michael Jeanette, I haven't heard back yet, I don't even know if he is he the?
He's the interim town clerk.
He's not
but-
necessarily the final one, so.
No, Amy's taking, the helm on Monday.
So that's,
Amy,
Amy Berry is our new town clerk.
alright, so, he'll probably pass along that email to her, I don't have, do you have her email?
It's probably Berry anyway.
Okay.
No, I have not, met her
Okay.
yet.
okay.
Right,
Same thing for gravestones, whether, 95 North Street, one thing that we do need to discuss, because for the next meeting, we'll try to have, warrant articles, and I believe in the minutes it said that they will be needing an extension. So we need to do a sunset extension.
Okay.
For 95 North Street, so other than that, any, news?
No, because of the time of year I asked Adam, there hasn't really been any
Yep.
additional progress.
Okay.
The extension can be done with that committee alone, we don't need a warrant article, right, for 95? I thought that was,
Should be
I
able
have to look at
should
that.
be able to in accordance with the policy that we passed.
We have to look at the warrant article that, and.
Oh, if it says we have
Right,
to-
because we started this, and I don't know, I think that
Depends on
one
when it
went
was,
before.
I don't know if we have retroactive.
Mm-mm. No, I think it was, and that's why we had kind of squirrely language, because
Nope.
we had multiple,
We can do it, unless the CPC by majority vote extends that deadline or take any action relative thereto.
excellent.
so that we can do it without a
So
warrant
organized.
article.
Thank you.
That's our policy.
I love this stuff.
When we tie the extension, is it for another 3 years, or is it?
I would
whatever we
say,
It's
decide.
whatever we want.
is that what you
Okay.
think is a reasonable amount of time?
No, I'm not saying that, just,
We typically do 2 years,
okay.
No, but
unless it's a really
if we
huge-
think,
I feel like the baselines can take a while.
I'll find out what they think is
if they
realistic.
think, and you're saying that we can do that,
with the
We
majority.
can do that.
okay, so we don't need to. Okay. Any, not that you haven't given us enough information, do you have any more information from
Well,
that Affordable Housing Trust?
So we're gonna be at our next meeting, which might be a fun one to do a joint, we're gonna try to have a representative from 25 Worcester Street as well as a representative from GSX possibly come in and just give us a more formal update about what's going on with each of those projects. 25 Worcester Street is a very long timeline, just because of how it's being funded, but it'll just be nice to touch base, it's been close to a year, I think the last time he came in was maybe June or July of last year, so maybe not close to a year, but you know, so it'd be nice to be getting updates on that, if they can, make the meeting.
And the Affordable Housing Trust, it seems like, cause whatever committee was historical, is it like the second Thursday? Do you guys meet, or do you meet different times?
It's usually the second Thursday,
Cause it seems like we would be across the hall from you guys,
so we met in here last time too,
Oh, yeah.
this is where affordable, so F is going offline
yeah,
to get updated, that's
Yeah.
why we're all getting shuffled around here, which is great, but also, you know, it's nice to see these fun facilities, these are really good. Let's see, Affordable Housing Trust typically meets, yeah, like the second Thursday.
and we usually
We
get
have a
GSX,
conflict.
No, but we don't, not
So the
anymore, cause we
13th?
changed our
Oh,
meeting to
that's right.
second Tuesday.
Second Tuesday now.
Cause it's like, we're trying to get out of everybody's way.
So does March 13th work for most people here, would that, if you wanted to do a joint meeting, and obviously I'm not the chair of the Affordable Housing Trust, so I gotta
Uh-huh.
touch base with
I
other
won't
people
be
too.
able to attend.
But that's the,
I have a work engagement.
but that's the second Thursday of
That's the
March.
second Thursday in
Yeah,
March, is the
I'll
13th.
See that's a problem for me.
Okay.
I don't have my phone.
when you
so-
mentioned GSX might be giving an update, is that for 8 Pine Street or Upton Street or both?
So 8 Pine Street's not an Affordable Housing Trust project per se, like we don't have a grant agreement for that, we have a grant agreement for 1727 Upton, so that's what it would mostly be focusing on.
Yeah, I just know there was an affordable housing component to 8 Pine Street, but it wasn't a AHT agreement.
Right, so I don't think, I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, but I think the focus will be 1727 Upton.
Same company, so they should know.
Depends on if there's the same project people that are
Right.
involved.
True.
Okay,
So if you wanna put that, Beth, on our calendar, so we'll be meeting the second and the fourth Thursday in March.
March, we are
So
here
that would be a joint
already.
meeting.
We've already gotten booted out.
I'm unlikely to be able to make that date.
On the 13th.
personally.
And
I might be able to Zoom it.
Are those typically Zoom?
no, they're
No.
typically in person. That's a bummer because I know you have a lot of,
I'm-
so,
Yeah, I can't make that date.
So it
Okay,
may have to be the
the
next
re-
one,
Isn't historical commission the second Thursday?
Tuesday.
but,
No.
Moved.
but
No.
Oh, it's the second, oh,
Historical
sorry.
commission,
Hold on.
HTC is the same.
just cause we can't make it to theirs, doesn't mean they can't make it to ours. We
Yeah.
can invite them to our meeting to discuss it as well, so does the,
That would be
20
2 weeks later, right?
Yeah.
That'd
The
be better.
27th,
That'd
right?
be better.
okay, that would be better for everybody, so
Yeah.
I'll extend the invitation and that gives people even more time to try to,
Yeah, I can make that one.
okay, great.
So the attorney hopefully would have her amendment done and distributed by then.
I can hope,
Mhm.
Yeah,
um,
it shouldn't take that long.
yeah, I don't,
Is
oh,
there-
well,
This is.
Is there a month?
It's like a
no, we would
couple hour-
definitely need
2 hours worth of work
a,
maybe.
Yeah, it depends on,
CBA's good.
on that night,
So, yeah, she said-
on their plate and what their
okay,
actual experiences, if they're looking up everything that we
I
do.
mean, I don't have to sit at the table like.
No, I
that's
think
next week's
Affordable
meeting.
Housing Trust isn't that big of a committee. I think we could cozy up and make it work.
We could fit in here, even
Yeah.
if we have to have Bill give us another table, like,
Yeah.
just to extend it.
What's the occupancy of this room? That's the only thing.
That's true.
This,
Well, there are a bunch of
It's-
chairs around the edge, so I think we're okay.
And there's other bigger rooms too.
yeah, we could go
You
down
can
to
go
the
in the studio.
Exactly.
We have a
Hang
great
out in the
old-
cell? Oh, it's a
There's
bathroom.
There's a
now,
great
isn't it?
loft with a bunch of tech up there, old tech in the loft, so we can hang out up there.
So we'll try for the 27th.
That's all it would be is 5 more people if they all came in person versus,
No, I think.
Plus
I think
Jan.
this would work.
plus Jan.
So if that works, let
When's
Beth
the
know, let me
next project
know,
coming?
and then
Are
we'll
they coming next month?
add that.
Which projects for what?
The project.
Oh, yeah, they'll be coming next week.
Maybe if it works for the Affordable Housing Trust, we consider starting the meeting at 6:30 so we don't inconvenience the project people coming in for their final update.
Okay,
So we don't, you know what I mean, cause they're probably planning to start at 7, they don't
Mhm.
wanna hear about a grant agreement, but we
Yeah.
also don't want the trust to wait, so like a 6:30 meeting,
mhm,
30 minutes should bang it out, right?
right,
Okay.
okay.
I
I
will
would hope
force
so.
that issue. Okay,
All right, that sounds good. We're all flexible.
The number's the same, yes, okay.
What'd you say?
Baseline reports.
One of our projects.
Oh, I'm happy to report that the
Yeah.
baseline report is complete.
And I'm happy to report it has been submitted for payment,
Yeah.
right, Beth?
There's a copy,
did a
a
baseline
year final copy of
payment
it
today.
there, for you to leaf through it.
So, we appreciate you getting that taken care of, and we appreciate the land trust.
Mm. So
doing
it's
Now
now
they have
time to do
another
the next one. Now they gotta do the next one,
Yeah.
but it'll be way way easier because
You've got the,
we've got everything, it's like that one, only a little different. Remember, we walked around there, didn't we?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
Is there anything to like summarize from this?
The summary is that the property's in good condition. There isn't too much on it, I don't know if there's anything on it that's objectionable. And so, if it changes from that baseline, then, it'll be knowable.
do we know that from any of the properties, the Robertson properties that we purchased that surround, have there ever been structures? Is there any evidence of, 100-year-old, 200-year-old buildings? Because I would think,
Well, the Robertson properties have been Hassamasset Woods, where the answer is
no,
yes.
these, that
Yeah,
we're getting the
yes.
baseline.
These properties that are, on the corner of,
Upton and
Upton Street and
Stowe Road.
Stowe Road.
Mhm.
No, there's nothing on them,
So they've never had any
no.
construction.
Nobody
kind
has
of
seen
buildings.
anything. The,
I'm thinking more historic.
Yeah, the town mistakenly dug a hole on one part of it, on one of the pieces of property, but that's grown over now.
Did they find anything? Did they find that what they were looking
Dirt.
for?
I don't know.
Rocks.
About $2 million. You don't even know
That
where
was
I got
mine,
it.
I knew I left it somewhere over there. No, that was the money that we used to pay for it. Okay, Cisco Homestead,
I owe Ray an email to find out if there's any update, but
okay. I'm sure there's not.
I'm sure there's not as well, that's why I
No,
haven't
just
rushed to it.
given the-
I drove by today
Huh?
to go back and forth, and there was like boxes outside.
Like-
So I don't know.
Like
if
cardboard
from-
boxes or construction type?
It looked like construction, and
So
they were.
maybe they are?
But I don't know if like the construction people from across the hall across the street is using that land.
Oh, for building that house?
Yeah, cause another one I noticed broke ground, the foundation was in.
I would hope they didn't let
I
them.
would hope so, but I hope not.
So, yeah, check
But
into it,
I
because that
noticed
sounds
there
like
was
maybe they
something
are,
up there.
Yeah,
actually.
maybe. And, yeah, I can't imagine Ray Gould would have said, yes, random construction company, use our property, so.
Yeah,
Well, unless they took it upon themselves, that was
Yeah.
the only thing.
and I don't know if
That's
there's a chain up there, I can't remember access to that, I don't know.
I just noticed, I went by last night, there was nothing there, I went by this morning, and there was the white van, and
Mhm.
then there was, it looked like wooden
Something's
boxes
going
or
on.
something, it looked
Yeah.
like something had happened
Okay.
between yesterday and
Okay,
today.
good to know. So we've heard about the Congregational Church, that's pretty much self-explanatory, Paul?
Yeah, there's
Nothing
nothing more to
to
add.
Yep.
Thank Andy for giving the update.
And then the lift project, any?
So I haven't heard any more. I did communicate back to them our decision from last month regarding the hearing assistive device, that we couldn't cover that under the scope.
You could have given an update on that too, Andy.
Yeah, he could
Oh, 'cause
Look,
it's
I'm actually still right here.
Hey!
And Ted's here.
Ted's here too. Hey, Ted.
So-
Andy's our designated project manager, so we're getting a lot of assistance from him. It's making things go very well. Thanks, Andy.
You're welcome. So we've had some abatement done down in the basement ahead of any construction starting. And I think we're almost through the permitting process at this point. The building department just asked us for a couple of more documents, which they now, I believe, have. So we're almost there. So I expect that we'll be starting construction in March. But we are going to have a pre-work meeting with the general contractor on Tuesday next week, just to sort of give everybody the idea of what's to come and what's going to happen and how we're going to work around an active church. But that's where we stand right now. I think we're going to start construction in March, and we should get an update from the GC then as well, just in terms of duration and what else they expect. But everything's been lining up very well so far.
Good news.
Thank you.
That's
Then
it for now.
the last Robinson land, it really should say, baseline report, because the land has been purchased, they received the check, that's all said and done.
Right.
So we're now in baseline report
Yeah.
mode.
Right, so as soon as the weather turns, someone will go out there and take a bunch of pictures of it.
Get access, good, all right.
Do we know how much the library turned back?
Oh. Yes, 0.
Liar.
No, they went
What?
way over budget, so the library had to fund.
The trust paid all their money too?
The total cost was $266,573.
You build a house for that.
Our piece was 74,114 out of that 266.
And they spent it all.
And it was all spent.
Good for them.
And I have a-
Kidding, huh?
I have no idea how they got it to cost that much.
For a cupola.
Yeah.
Oh, like I think the scaffolding was up there for so long, maybe with those rental fees for the scaffolding.
It was up there a long time.
And the Baptist church, though, the turnback will be almost 33,000. So
That's
Oh,
good
that's
news.
fine, okay, good.
hopefully that'll make make you feel a little better.
Of course it does. And we
So-
saved bees, so
Yeah.
that's nice.
So, but we won't
Were
see
they
that
honeybees?
until
They
next
were, and
August.
they saved them like nicely, and they were gonna use some of that honey.
Passed over the housing authority.
Sorry, how did I,
It's very easy because we have affordable housing and housing authority.
okay, no, I just missed it, sorry about that, thank you, Jack. Jack, do you have an update? No.
I just wanted to say.
Just didn't wanna be skipped over.
I actually have a sizable update. I spoke with our executive director Amanda, who's incredible, and she let me know that they will be requesting funds for 3 households. We have a family moving in from a shelter, so they don't have the means to pay for the minimum deposit, but they pass all the marks, so they're in. And 2 households who are also working with a local church with some hardship assistance, so they are showing initiative on their own. So this is our first use of this new in-place Gallagher Rental Assistance Project, so.
Good.
Wonderful.
That's good news.
I'm
Jim
happy-
will be proud.
Yep, oh yeah, I'm happy we get 3 off the bat, and I'm very happy. We have so few family units, and all of that, they're the ones right on Providence Road, right at the lights to Millbury Street, and the ones way up on Veterans Circle, and I'm very happy that we were able to get people into those, so.
That's great.
That's the update.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, and I don't know why, maybe that's what I did. I said affordable housing instead of housing trust, cause I'm looking at this, I'm like, affordable housing trust, we already did that. So, sorry about that, that was, I just, was a little dyslexic there. No update for the CPA signs, and Lake Wildwood, no update for that, that's, who knows how long that will stay within its litigation, phase to determine the highest.
That's the landlocked one, with the
And it's
railroad
just a
lots.
matter of what's the highest price, some of the family members want a higher price, and the others aren't as concerned, they would rather do something, you know, beneficial with the land.
Yep.
More in honor of their father, so it's gotta, they have to determine, I guess through whatever, if they're gonna have, an actual lawsuit, or where that stands to determine, because the trustee was saying, gave them a lower price, and the concern is, you know, if it's a higher price, then that kind of throws away the whole works, because, but also the funding that they got a grant from the trustees, it's Sudbury, I don't know, that's about
SVT.
that, and I don't know how long that grant you know, until it's concluded, or it's only available for X, you know, like ours, is there sunset on that, so hopefully that can get resolved, and then we can get that taken care of, so. I don't believe there's anything else,
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Wait, motion and a second, who's my second? Colleen, sorry, totally missed that one, motion and second. All those in favor, starting with Jan.
Yes.
Roll call, Jan, yes, Paul. Aye. Jack.
Aye.
Ken.
Aye.
Kristen.
Aye.
Justin.
Aye.
Colleen. We are adjourned. The one thing